It is all about slaw today in the sartorial kitchen. Kicking things off, it is an apple and grape slaw with a honey lime dressing. Then I'm doing a broccoli slaw stir fry. And last but not least, for dessert, a classic German chocolate cake with sauerkraut. So why don't you pull up a chair and dine with me?
Welcome back, everybody. Yes, I am at the grocery. I am in the produce department. We are doing slaw today. I'm sure you saw that. And I'm doing 3 kinds of slaw. I'm doing a kind of appetizer, kind of side slaw. I'm doing slaw as a kind of savory main course, and I'm doing a dessert. So that'll be fun. Okay, so for this first slaw, it's a bit of a sweet savory, and I need some apples for that. I'm gonna do Granny Smith. They're nice and tart. And I just want to check the apples, look for bruises, feel that they're nice and firm. That way we know they're going to be fresh and they're not going to have any brown spots. We don't want brown spots in our slaw. And I'm going to need about 3 or 4 of these. Also going to need some citrus. Now I normally do lemons, but I think we're going to do limes today. How about that? And I'm going to need a couple limes so I get enough juice. This one looks good. I want some of the zest as well, so I'm checking for brown spots, and I think we're good to go. And then the last thing I'm going to need is the slaw. I'm cheating and buying a slaw mix. I'm not going to chop up my own slaw. But I'm going to finish up here, and I will see you guys back in the kitchen. Welcome back to the kitchen, everybody. So I told you that I was doing a dessert with slaw. And that is my German chocolate cake. And where's the slaw come in? I'm using sauerkraut in place of the sweetened coconut. So I have already drained and rinsed my sauerkraut about a cup. And then that's going to go into our caramel frosting later. But I'm starting with the meat and potatoes of the cake. It's a chocolate cake. If you're not familiar with German chocolate, it's a chocolate cake. And then it's caramel with nuts and coconut. So good. But I'm starting with my wet ingredients. 3 eggs. I always like to crack them first. I can watch for eggshells. Then we're going to do teaspoons of vanilla. Vanilla really brings out that flavor of the chocolate. For the rest of our wet ingredients, I need half a stick of butter, room temperature butter. I'm going to be creaming this. The rule with butter is cold for pastry and room temp for other things. And then the last of our wet ingredients, sugar. We need 1.5 cups. Sounds like a lot, but we're making a really big cake here. So I'm going to level that off. 1 and 1.5 cups. And then we're going to cream this together. Normally, I know I would mix this by hand, but since we're creaming this and I want to get a lot of air into these eggs, I'm going to use my mixer. And I just start on a medium heat. And just come in here and just beat everything together. And you'll notice it starts to get really creamy and frothy. All that air that you incorporate in the eggs, which makes it almost like doubles everything in size. Okay, that looks really good, guys. Okay, I'm gonna set this guy in the sink. And then we're going to move on to our dry ingredients. I've got my little sifter here. I'm going to start with my flour. I need 2 cups of flour. And I like using the sifter, as you know. It makes everything nice and light and fluffy. And it's also a good way to kind of mix all the ingredients together, all the dry ingredients. And again, we just level off The flour, we want a nice even measurement of flour. Then I need a teaspoon each of baking soda, baking powder, and you can't have chocolate cake without chocolate, so I've got some cocoa here. And I need about 3/4 cup. I want this to have lots of good chocolate flavor. That looks pretty good. It's going to go right in. And time for my little secret ingredient. Whenever I'm baking with chocolate, I love to add like a couple teaspoons of instant coffee. This is going to really enhance that chocolate flavor. It almost gives it like a dark chocolate quality. And then we just take our sifter and give it a nice little tappity tap, tap, tap. And then you can see all the lumps from the cocoa and the flour, how they collect in here. It's exactly why we do this, because I want a nice, light, tender cake. I don't want a cake with lumps in it. And you can see the flour and the cocoa and all those ingredients are incorporating themselves. Then you just come in here with your hands and push the lumps through. Perfect. Now we are ditching the mixer and we're moving to a spatula. I like to mix this part by hand because otherwise you overdevelop the flour and then you're going to get a really dense, chewy cake. You can kind of turn the bowl too, get all this stuff up off the side. Now this step takes a little longer, but it is so worth it. There's a huge difference in this stage of the game with the batter. But I think we're good to go. Perfect. All right. So I have already greased my pan here. I'm using a bundt pan. I thought that would be a fun twist here on this cake. You could do round pans and kind of stack it. You could do a sheet pan and almost do like square cakes. But I thought the bundt would be fun. And then you just kind of let it drizzle in. And be careful not to spill it on top. I'm going to just come in here with the spatula and get every last bit of this batter out. All right. I'm just going to give this a little tap. Get out any air bubbles. Make sure everything is a nice even layer so it bakes the same. This is going in the oven. I've already preheated this oven to 350. It's going to bake for about 35 to 40 minutes until a toothpick comes out clean. I'm going to go ahead and set that now. All right, got the cake going. It's smelling delicious already. So we're going to move on to our next dish. It is an apple slaw. Apple and grape slaw. I'm going to start with the dressing first. It's just honey and lime. You could use maple syrup, real maple syrup, or not that corn syrup stuff. Or you could use agave, but honey is easier to come by. But I'm starting with some lime zest. I really want that freshness here. And I'm just, very carefully zesting this, making sure I don't get too far down into the pith. That becomes really bitter. And I think I'm only going to zest one of these. Okay, that's about 1 lime. Perfect. And then we always check the back for stripes. So I'm starting with the limes. Well, first, you have to zest the lime before you juice it. You can't really easily zest something that's already been juiced. And then also, I want the juice because that's going to keep our apples from turning brown, of course. Just slide this baby in. I love this little juicer. You can give it a huge squeeze. Get a lot more juice out than you can squeezing it by hand. And this end. Limes are a little smaller than lemons. If you're doing lemon instead of lime, you probably only need one. Lemons are pretty large. I want lots of juice here. It's going to be a nice little fragrant summery kind of salad. When I was putting this episode together, I thought, I want to do something different than just coleslaw. I mean, that would have been too easy. And I said, you know what? It doesn't have to necessarily be cut up cabbage to be a slaw. Anything can be a slaw. Oh, that's lovely. All right. Done with this guy. We'll set the limes aside. And then I need some honey. About a quarter cup, which is going to be pretty much the rest of this container. Yep. You have served me well. Thank you so much. And come in here with our whisk. And just give that a stir. Emulsify that honey and that lime juice. I am going to add a pinch of salt. Just kind of balance the sweetness. The apples and the grapes are pretty sweet. Just to kind of balance that out. Perfect. Now we can cut up our apples. I'm going to go ahead and throw in my grapes. I just bought a package of grapes already taken off the stem. I went ahead and cut them in half. I didn't think you needed to watch me chop a bunch of grapes in half. With the apples, I did want to demonstrate. So basically, I just come down and we're going to cut this into fours. We leave the center, which is where the seeds and everything are. And then we have a nice flat surface to chop up our apples with. And I just come down, kind of like when you're doing an onion or tomato, you come down lengthwise, make your horizontal cuts, and then you come back this way with the knife, a 1/4 inch. Be careful with our fingers. And you get nice little strips of apple. So it's almost kind of mimics the strips of cabbage that you would have in a coleslaw. And then we're just going to dump that right in. And same thing with this guy here. Okay, that is the last of the apple. I have one more left, but I think I'm going to save that for a snack. I think 3 was plenty. And we'll just come in here with our spoon, and we'll toss this up. So I want to coat the apples in our little lime mixture here, because again, that keeps them from going brown. Nothing worse than a brown apple. I like nice, fresh, crisp apples. That is beautiful. Yes. It's a nice, fresh little slaw salad. And I think it's time to give it a little taste. Okay. I'm just going to come in here with a slotted spoon. That way I get some of the dressing too. Make sure I get some of these grapes. I got the red and the green because I thought the red would give a nice pop of color. And then one last thing, I love to garnish this with some toasted nuts just to give some extra texture to the dish. I drop them on top. I don't throw them into the dressing because otherwise the nuts get kind of soggy, and that's no fun. And then we'll just come in here. I think I will use a fork. Grab a hold of everything. And then we will just give it a little taste. And does that not look amazing? Guys, I'm so excited. Let's come in here. Get some of that. The apple and the grapes. And the nuts. It's so good. Grapes are nice and juicy, so they're perfect for a salad like this. I like the Granny Smith because it's tart, so you get a little sweet and sour kind of thing going on. The nuts just give it a nice little textural component. It's sweet, and then you have the acid from the lime that kind of brightens everything up. And just a pinch of salt. That's all you need, just to kind of balance everything out. So good. So, our next dish is a stir fry with another type of slaw. All right, now time for our slaw. It is okay, guys, time for our slaw. It is a broccoli slaw. So I thought, I'm going to cheat and I'm going to buy a slaw mix. I'm not going to chop up the whole cabbage. But then I saw the broccoli slaw. I thought, oh, that would be different. And that got me started on the whole, let's do slaw without actually doing slaw. So there's that. So to start, I want some bacon. And this is frozen, just frozen bacon. I'm going to cut into little slices here. Frozen bacon, I love it. So I buy fresh when it's on sale. And you can get a whole bunch of it. And then whatever I'm not going to use, I just bag up in a little Ziploc and it goes in my freezer. And then I've got bacon whenever I need it. And the other thing about frozen bacon is it is much easier to chop than defrosted bacon. And you can just kind of stack the bacon up on itself and then cut nice little strips. So the bacon is going to add a nice kind of crunch element, nice texture. But I also want the fat from the bacon. It's just going to make our slaw nice and luscious. We're going to throw the bacon in first. Ooh, listen to that sizzle, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. One of my favorite sounds in the kitchen. Right. I am going to add just a little olive oil to help get this bacon started. I want it to kind of crisp. With it being frozen, it is going to release a little liquid. Alright, so I set this cake at 38 minutes, kind of in between, just to be on the safe side. But it smells amazing right now, so I just want to give it a little check here. I am a firm fan of the toothpick test. If the toothpick comes out clean, you're good. And if you're still unsure, you can come to another area here. Perfect. So we'll turn that timer off. I always put my cake on a rack so air can get underneath. It's going to help it cool evenly, which is going to help you get it out of this pan without it sticking. Look at that bacon. It is rendered down nicely. Just when it is almost about finished, that is when I want to add in the rest of my ingredients. I got some minced onion here. I'm going to throw in about a tablespoon. I like the dehydrated onion. It's going to reconstitute itself in this oil, and then I don't have to worry about it adding any more liquid. And then I also want about the same with the garlic. I like the jar garlic because I get some of that garlic oil, and then some of my minced ginger here. About a teaspoon, teaspoon and a half, and just stir that very quickly because it's going to want to burn. And that's only going to cook for about a minute. Now, we're going to throw in our slaw. I'm going to throw in the whole bag. And that's going to wilt down in this bacon grease. It's not going to take long, maybe about 5 or so minutes. If you get any big pieces like that, you can kind of break them up. And just stir it around. It smells so good. Oh my gosh, that ginger, the garlic, and that bacon fat is just coming together, making a lovely little partnership here in my wok. Beautiful. All right, now we're going to make up a little sauce here. We're going to sauce that up in. For that, I'm going to start with a little sugar. A couple tablespoons, not much. Not quite that much. That's good. Then we've got some soy sauce here. Couple tablespoons of soy sauce. Couple teaspoons of rice vinegar. Just a dash of sesame oil. Sesame oil is really strong. You really only need like maybe a fourth teaspoon. And some of my sambal. I want this to have a nice little bit of heat. And about a couple teaspoons of that. I'm going to come in here with my baby whisk. Stir all that together just to break down that sugar and incorporate all those flavors. Love it. Now you can see that slaw has started to wilt down nicely. You just want to let it go until everything kind of changes color. Just a little stir just to make sure everything's good there. And we are ready to throw this in. Dump that sauce right in the middle. And then start tossing it up. If you're not comfortable doing this, you can continue to use your spatula. But basically, you're not going up and down, you're going back and forth. You're using the lip of the pan to turn everything over. This literally is just staying in here long enough for all those aromatics to cook down. You're going to really start to smell the sambal, the sesame. So good. Okay, yes. All of our slaw is coated in that lovely sauce we made. It's nice and wilted. We're going to turn this off. And I'm going to grab me a bowl and a fork. We're going to dig in a nice helping of everything here. Oh, this smells yum. Make sure I get lots of bacon. And there we have it, a lovely little Asian broccoli slaw stir fry. Now let's give it a taste. Ooh. Listen to that crunch. Beautiful. The broccoli and the carrots and everything have wilted, but they still have lots of texture. Getting just the right amount of heat from that sambal. The bacon gives it a nice richness. You have the onion, the garlic. Oh my god, this is so amazing. Well, we have one thing left to do, and that is ice our cakes. Don't go too far. Alright guys, frosting time. I've got my skillet going. This is a really simple frosting. So we need half a stick of butter and almost a cup and a half of brown sugar. But I'm going to let this butter cool down first. And moment of truth, is our cake going to come out? I greased the pan pretty good, so I've got a plate and I've got some parchment. The parchment is just to keep our frosting from making a mess and going all over. Oh, did you hear that? It dropped. Beautiful. Just a little bit of leftover. Oh god, that's gorgeous. Yes. All right. Yes, butter, do your thing. Beautiful. And I like to let it go just a little to where it starts to brown slightly. This is going to give us a little extra nutty flavor. So there's our first cup. And about a cup and a half. I think that's going to pretty much empty out my container here, actually. Yep. We'll have to refill that baby up here. See? And then I'm going to come in here with my whisk and just stir this around. I'm going to incorporate the butter and the sugar. Ooh, this smells so good. Yum. Let that kind of reduce. It's nice and syrupy. Also want to throw a little vanilla in here. just to give it a little something extra. Vanilla is one of those things like salt where it really brings out the flavor of other things. And then we just keep cooking this down till that sugar melts. All right, so we have let this go for about 5 or so minutes. You get that nice caramel color and it starts to bubble up nicely. And that butter is well incorporated. The sugar has dissolved beautifully. Now we add our milk. I need a whole cup here. Ooh. Oh my gosh. This happens really fast. Yeah. You want to start stirring that in immediately. That cold milk, it wants to solidify that sugar because it's a change in temperatures. So we're just going to let that cook down. That sugar is going to dissolve into that milk. We're going to let that go for several more minutes here until that reduces, and it's just going to become a nice, rich caramel. You'll notice it starts to bubble immediately. And it's just going to cook down and reduce. Once it's thickened up, we'll take it off the heat and we'll add our nuts and our sauerkraut. All right, this is bubbled up nicely. Smells amazing. So now we're going to drop in our sauerkraut. And this I just drained. It's about a cup. I drained and rinsed it. You want to rinse it really good. Try and get all that extra vinegar out of there. It's not a really great flavor. And I'm also going to throw in some nuts here. Now, usually it's pecans, but I had some hazelnuts on hand, meaning about a half cup. I thought, why not? It's going to give it something different. Give it a little, almost like a Nutella kind of quality. And then we're just going to stir this in until everything gets nice and thick. It'll take about 3 to 5 minutes. This will reduce. Just get nice and thick, and then we can glaze our cake. Ooh. All right, this has been going for a while. Ooh. Look at that. Oh, so luscious. See how it's nice and thick now. And just, it's going to be kind of between like a glaze and a frosting. And I am just going to pour this. I may not even need all of that icing. I want to just be careful here. I'm in the middle of the skillet. And I'm just going to come over here. I'm just going to cascade that. I'm going to turn this around. So good. Oh, guys, yes. Oh, look at that. Gorgeous. Ooh, so tasty. Not wait. Well, we need a plate and we need a fork. I hate to cut into this. It's so beautiful, but I do need to give it a little bit of a taste for you guys. I'll come here. Just cut a nice little sliver here. Just enough to give it a taste. And I have let this set for a minute just to make sure our caramel has set before I really get into this. And tell me that does not look good. Shall we? Oh yeah, the chocolate, nice and moist. Lots of good flavor. I'm getting that kind of dark chocolate quality from the coffee. And then of course the richness of this lovely glaze. So good. Well, I've got some cleaning up to do, but I thank you guys for joining me in the kitchen as always. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave me a comment section.